Alright, hey folks. So I've seen a lot of dooming online about how there's no good way to level from 70 to 80 in pre-patch because, oh no, the pre-patch event is bad. Which, like, who could have seen that coming, right? But here's the good news. There's actually a very, very, very easy way to level from 70 to 80 in pre-patch. It's the exact same way that we've always used, and it's even faster now. And I'm going to show you how to do it because I think most people who obviously played throughout War Within are familiar with it and they know how strong it is, but if you're just coming back and you don't know all the technical details, you may look at my guide and think, well, this seems outdated. It probably doesn't work anymore. Well, not only does it still work, like I said, it's really strong. So even if they massively buff the pre-patch event, which, I mean, they probably will buff it to some degree in terms of the XP gain, they already buffed the rewards, I don't necessarily see it competing with this. Historically, the pre-patch events have never been that good for leveling. People will fight me on that, and I will maintain that every single pre-patch event has been slower than the fastest options. The only advantage they've ever had is that they're okay with, like, brain-off mode, if you really don't want to put in the effort. And maybe it'll reach that point. It'll be okay for people who want to fully brain-off, but if you have a lot of alts that you want to level up, then this will be your best bet. So I've picked out one of my old characters. This used to be my main back in, like, Mists of Pandaria or something, and I've kept it up, like, for professions or whatever. But I have it sitting here at level 70. It's like almost exactly 70, like maybe one bar in. And like I have rested experience banked up on it, but I would imagine that the vast majority of people who are coming back are in the same position and have a bunch of rested XP banked on their character. So this is not meant to be like a speed run is like, oh, look how fast I can do it. It's just a demonstration of like, this is what basically anybody can do if they just follow the exact same steps. I'm going to enter world. I'm going to start the timer when I get in. You can also see I'm, like, in my garrison. I think I was, like, using this character to get to core, because I played this in WoD. So I'm going to just immediately start the timer, and that'll include the time it takes me to get to War Within zones. So I'm going to run over here, grab my garrison cache, and then where's my Hearthstone set to? Loam, right? So no really easy way for me to get back. Probably dollar on Hearthstone, which is now a toy, would be the best bet. There is... Yeah, actually, I have the War Within intro quest. I don't know if that still works. I've heard that it's a little bit buggy, but theoretically I should do that. And as long as the skip still works. Obviously, if it's your first time doing War Within, like I have a separate video on that, you could probably still do most of this, but you might need to do the introduction, which is like 10 minutes, linear questline. You know, just get through it, and then you can do the skip on all your future characters. Not really that big of a deal. Alright, so we're in Dornagal. Cool. Right now, the first thing that I'm going to do is go and learn a profession. And I think I can also just take starter builds. I don't really care. Can't do that while moving, sure. If there's any, like, really bad starter build talent choice that I know for a fact I don't want, I can always just manually spec out of it. It looks good enough. It's playable. So I'm going to go over here to the enchanting guy. I am going to drop jewel crafting, because if I recall, alchemy is like the profession that I've had for a while. This character, yeah. That one I just picked up last expansion. Have nothing on it. And then I'm going to learn Dornagal enchanting. Or Kazilgar enchanting, whatever it is. And obviously this requires a little bit of gold, but it's basically nothing. And the reality is, like, I think for how low the prices are these days, it is worth it. Obviously, I have the Brutosaur, so I'm going to hop on it. If you want to, you can just fly to the auction house and then do exactly what I am about to do. So, on my guide here, I'm going to pause the recording. I'm going to pull it up on screen. Alright, so I let the timer still go. Like, this is still counted as part of the video, but I'm not going to, you know, just stall here. But here's my website, right? So this is, you can go to literally https://harldan.com. I think, yeah, that's the full URL. Just harldan.com, and then, like, there's, you know, links that let you find my leveling guide. This is also mentioned on my actual video, but this is like a easier way to find it. I'm showing it on screen if you want to just literally look. But this is what I'm going to buy. So I'm showing it now. If you don't want to go to my website, you want to just like pause here and look at it, that works too. And now I'm going to close this window, and I'm going to go and buy all this stuff and pause because Minimizing the website messed up sizing. But alright, so we go to Storm Dust, and you can buy the lowest quality. So I'm gonna buy a 156. It's 1,400. That's like the most expensive thing. And Gleaming Shard by 30. Do I have enough? No. Okay, so then I'm gonna go to my Warband bank. Just grab like a little bit of gold. And I should note, by the way, you don't need to do this. The rest of the video will explain, like, if you really, really have 0 gold and you can't afford this, like, tiny bit. Mind you, I have, like, 2k, which is a single world quest, pretty much, in the modern day. So that's, like, not really a lot. Shard, 30. Technically, you can buy more or less. Bismuth Rod, I buy off a vendor. So, Leyline Residue, I'm going to buy 27. Interestingly, the prices are a little bit higher now than when I did this, like, last week. What I'm guessing is that because people have realized, oh, hey, the pre-patch event is so bad, pretty much everybody's going back to my leveling guide as a way to just level up their characters because there's no real other good option. Which makes sense. So, naturally, all of these things are going to spike in price. I spelled illusory wrong because I'm dumb. Formula, illusory, adornment, crystal. There we go. Yeah, even this recipe used to be, like, literally silver, not even gold. Alright. Then I need Bismuth Rod, and then just, like, buy a bunch of Enchanting Vellum. So that was what, like, 5k? Less than 5k? Keep in mind, I just want to reiterate, that a single, like, not world quest, but, like, one of these things, called the World Soul, single one of those is, like, 3.5k at max level, and it takes, like, 10 minutes to complete. So, these alts will literally pay for themselves, and in my opinion, this is, like, super easy. The time that it takes to do this is well worth it. And I would imagine that the prices will only go down over time. There's just a lot of people right now who are kind of probably knee-jerk reacting to the pre-patch being really bad. You don't need to do this, technically speaking, but I'm going to go and buy an Enchanter's... not a Draconium Rod. Why is this all messed up? It's Rune's Bismuth Rod, but for some reason the item level order is all skewed. I don't know why it's being like this. I'm just going to search Bismuth Rod, and then we'll buy... Something is messed up right here. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I like to, for my speedruns, buy one of these with crafting speed on it. It literally makes 0 difference whatsoever, and realistically speaking, you're just gonna buy whatever you need to actually do this. Okay, so we go to... wrong thing. Professions, Enchanting. I'm going to do Gleaming Shatter. And as I let this run, I'm going to now pause the recording because literally you just sit here for like 30 seconds doing Gleaming Shatter. And it's RNG as to whether or not you're trying to get to 22 skill points. Right, and any second now, 22. Now, this is a little bit easier on Blood Elf because they have an Enchanting racial. The recipe turns green a little bit earlier for everybody else. In fact, I actually had enough to finish this quest. Cool. Something else that I should do, that I forgot to do. Not a big deal. Grab one of these potions. Now, you may be like, but I don't have one of these potions. Well, good news, you can get one. So this thing, Wins a Mysterious Fortune, there is a farming method for these, extremely easy. You go to Follower Dungeons, and you pick Ruby Life Pools or Dark Flame Cleft. And they have, like, a big elite really early on. You kill the elite, takes, like, literally 15 seconds. I timed it. I have a video on it somewhere. And you get your bag for the day, and it, I think, has, like, a 33% chance of having one of these potions, but you can farm it infinitely, including on level 10 characters. So you just make brand new level 10s, kill the mob for the bag, get a potion eventually, and I mean, you can see here, I actually mailed a stack of this over to one of my alts, but I have leftover stack of 99 just sitting in my bank that I farmed from last time. Really easy to do. This is 10% free experience. I should have done that before completing that quest, but it does not matter. This is going to be very easy either way. Alright, so now I'm going to talk to this guy. I'm going to train all this stuff. Technically, you don't need to train all those recipes. I'm going to do it just because I'm lazy, and it's easier to do it that way. craft a ruined bismuth rod of my own. This gives me 3 skill points. It puts me at 25. I talk to this guy. I learn this stuff. Okay. Now, with that sorted, here, talk to this person. Here, talk to you. It doesn't really matter which one you pick. Technically, if you do this, you can save some of the materials. Oh, this actually... Huh. Okay, so like I said, you can do Ruby Life Pools, or apparently this is just sometimes rewarded off quests, and there you go. It's that easy. So the reason we do this is because it gives us 300 Artisan's Equity. And we go over here, do this. I think, technically speaking, people have told me that if you perfectly min-max your... this bug again. I'm not even going to stop the timer. It's literally just log out, log back in. It takes like 2 seconds. And then that'll let me use the item. I've been told by people that if you perfectly min-max your artisan's knowledge points, or whatever they're called, as you're leveling up the profession, then you don't actually need to buy this. But that only really matters if you plan on using the profession at endgame, which at this point, it's the next expansion. So endgame for War Within is no longer endgame, so like this literally doesn't matter. And if it's an alt that you have no intention of doing professions on, then this is literally completely free, and it just trivializes it. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to fly over to Orgrimmar. If you're wondering, why am I leaving Kazalgar? Everybody, obviously, who's familiar with my guides already knows, but there is something called a Dream Surge that is active in Dragonflight zones, and it gives you a flat experience buff while you are in the zone. And that applies to everything, including first-time craft XP from professions, which is why we're doing all of this stuff. And there is a flat 25% buff that you get no matter what, so it's always worth doing this. And sometimes, if you're lucky, there's an additional 50% on top of that. Now, the 50% bonus, I believe it is... Yeah, you can see by the Shaping the Dream Surge quest. It's in Onaran Plains this week. Shaping the Dream Surge bonus, or whatever it's called, will rotate every 30 minutes. So you can just wait. A lot of times, what people will do is they will just get a bunch of alts to this part. And I would say if you plan on leveling a bunch of alts from 70 to 80, that's what you should do. Basically, do all the steps so far, get up to here, get to, like, Onaran Plains, park all of your characters here, and then just keep checking on the buff and wait for it to roll around. And then for the 30 minutes where you get the extra 50% XP, just quickly log into all your characters and do the next few steps one after another. And you can see the buffs here. So now I can see that, like, if the next buff was going to be the 50% one, maybe I would sit here and, like, wait to record that. And I would recommend that you do that, but just for, like, demonstration purposes to show you that this is still fast, even if you don't do that, which is literally as simple as, like, logging off, checking in for, like, 3 seconds, and then logging in when it's ready. You can still do this perfectly fine. So we're going to go to First Craft bonuses. For specialization, I'm going to do this, put 5 points in here, take Deceptive Decorations, and then put as many points as I can spend in here. Now I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to just wait for this all to clear. And now I have it filtered by first crafts. So I craft this, it disappears, and I click on the next one. And we're just going to go down the list and do this over and over for each one of these. It caps out at 30. So you can only receive this bonus a total of 30 times. That is about as much as you can expect to get by doing all of these lethal glamours. And keep in mind, this is 50% faster if you just wait for the buff to roll around. When I'm trying to remember the exact level. I think I started this at like level 74 in my test that I did earlier this week after pre-patch. And I hit level 80 with like maybe about a quarter of my first craft still left to go. This gets you literally the bulk of the way up to 80. It's really, really, really easy. Do that. Brock is being very noisy. On shoulders, sure. And now that I've gotten a bunch of first craft bonus knowledge, now we can spend the rest of these points. This is what I meant, where, like, technically you don't need that tome. You can just get it all if you do it this way. Fortunately, now my screen's going to be flooded with, like, the new recipe learn, I think. So it's going to make it a little bit awkward. It's fine. So this. Also, technically speaking, from, like, a mathematical point, you should realistically do this towards the end of your leveling journey, because one thing that you'll notice is I'm not going to get only 80 from this. I'm going to have to do, like, 1 or 2 more small things to get there. In fact, let me just check. I think we're almost at the end. Oh, no, still a few more. We're close. All right, 78. That's pretty good. But we're approaching, like, the last of the first crafts. Yeah, that one gave a little bit less. I'm still getting some. I haven't been, like, keeping track of exactly how many. Actually, come to think of it. Wow, that... I will say, I did not expect it to get me all the way from 70 to 79, I think. Unless, if this gives me nothing, then that might have been my last first craft. No. It was this one. Alright. This, I think, is either the last one or that previous one was. That has... Yeah, I think that's, like, the last one. Okay, so 15 minutes. By the way, if you optimize this, like, in my speedruns where I, like, mail myself all the stuff ahead of time and, you know, I'm actually trying to go fast, you can do that entire process in, like, 5 minutes. And the funny thing is, remember, I said this wasn't with the 50% buff. I actually didn't realize the scaling was that crazy good. With the 50% buff, I mean, basic math, right? That was... what's it called? How do I guess I should just use dollar on Hearthstone at this point, huh? And then we'll make our way back to Dornegal. But that was 70 to 79 with 50% less experience. So, I guess technically speaking, when I tested this earlier in the week, that was before the Winds of Mysterious Fortune 20% bonus. So, that definitely makes a difference. Also, I don't think War Mode... Yeah, War Mode is just quest experience, I'm pretty sure. Quest rewards and experience. I'm actually not sure if War Mode affects profession bonuses. I don't think it does. But it's also been so long since I've run all my tests that... Who knows? Maybe it does. Hard to say. But either way, I mean, I'll get to show you, I guess, what to do if you don't want to do that. So that's just a very basic lesson of, hey, if you have... where's the Dornegal portal now? I knew they moved it upstairs. If you have 5 to 10k gold, not even, and you want to just spend 15 minutes getting to max level, there is basically no way in hell that any buffs to the pre-patch can make it faster than that. Like, just straight up. How do you level faster than that? Like, that's, like I said, when optimized, can be done in 5 minutes, and clearly, when optimized, can also be the only way that you level from 70 to 80, so that's pretty good. And if you really don't want to do that, if you're, like, absolutely dirt poor, do not want to spend a single cent of gold, then you should do delves. Delves are the next fastest way. Usually in my old speedruns, I'd combine them. And so it says that this variant is active. I just remembered, though, when I did my test earlier, like, last week, the variants were not matching, like, on the map, the one that was actually active. It was just something completely different. So we'll see if they fix that bug. But technically speaking, if that is not lying to me... my momentum got munched. If the game is not lying to me, then Smashing Skardin is, like, the best delve variant. So I'm gonna go do that. I'm too fat to fit through that doorway. And... I mean, worst case scenario, the worst version of Dread Pit is still pretty good. And we only need 1 delve, so you could just pick whichever one is remotely fast and go through it. It'll be good to go. And also my gear is, like, complete crap. This is why I said you might, like, if you didn't get enough experience from all the crafts and stuff, then it would technically be better to do the crafts after, like, 1 delve. That way, all of your scaling from your gear is, like, as strong as it could possibly be. Yeah, so it says Smashing Skardin. I think it is lying to me. I think it is Not Smashing Scarred. Yeah. It is... Yeah. Yeah, so it's bugged. This is not Smashing Scarred, this is Lost Gems, which is a different variant. This is the exact same bug that I had when I tested earlier in the week, so I don't know if it's just, like, happens to have the same bugged pool of delves as when I tested a week ago, or if it's just always bugged for this exact state. I guess maybe I'll have to check tomorrow. Not that it really matters, because Lost Gems is also a very good variant, so I have no problem with this. One of the reasons why this is so good is because you can just kind of ignore all the enemies. And, like, even if you're not a Blood DK, you just don't need to fight any of this stuff. You could run Healer Brand, you could run Tank Brand. There's some memory gems up here that I can get. So I'm gonna do this. Alright. Talk to this person. And... I just realized my personal resource display is bugged. I mean, UI bugs in free patch, what else is new? But I don't really care enough to fix it right now. Drag this mob on here. Oh, right, I forgot they changed consumption. It's an empowered ability now. That's actually kind of neat. I haven't messed around much with Blood DK with the changes. How does this work? Cool. That's kind of cool. That is a pretty neat change. I have no idea if consumption's actually worth using. I'd imagine if it still works like it did before. And it gives you 15% DR while empowering that. It's like... Feels like you could use it before a tank buster and get some value from it defensively, so that's... Consumes your disease. That feels good. Like, my gut instinct is that it's probably worth running, but I also don't know. Blood DK is not something I have extensively tested, and I've heard that the damage is just tuned really poorly, which is a shame, because I've heard that it's actually quite fun. Just is what it is. Gotta still kill this one gem hoarder and reach the end. It's also interesting because I've now fully tested every single delve in Midnight on the beta, and there are some good delves, but I really don't know if there's that many that are comparable to, like, Lost Gems, Smashing Scarred, etc. The fact that you can just run past all the mobs and beeline one specific objective. A lot of the fastest Midnight delves that I've tested are still kind of like, you have to kill X amount of mobs and click on certain objectives, but the layout of the delve feels, like, really smooth and intuitive, and the mobs, like, aren't particularly difficult, so it doesn't feel bad. But I'm not really sure if I would say that any of them were quite as fast as, like, this variant. Admittedly, this is, like, I think I ranked it as, like, in the top 10 of delve variants in War Within, so it is a high bar, but delve leveling was very good for most of Midnight, or War Within. Just curious how long that'll persist. Yeah, I picked up the quest. By the way, the bulk of the experience comes from this, so make sure you grab the Delver's Call quest. Don't forget. I have done that sometimes. It's not pretty. In a second. I think I forgot to set Curios on Bran, so he's probably not spec'd into anything. I checked that. Yep. Yeah. Alright, well. So if my Bran, like, I guess he doesn't show up in the damage meters, which is... Of course he doesn't. It would be too difficult for Blizzard to add that functionality to their own damage meters, apparently. But I suspect he's doing next to no damage. Wait, oh! Wait, that's level 80. Oh my god. Yeah, so remember when I said that, like, this is the bulk of the experience? Apparently, you don't even need that. Wow. I just got enough from mob kill XP and the tiny completion bonus. And I didn't even need the Delver's Call quest. Yeah, so moral of the story, is it a bit of a bummer that the pre-patch event is terrible? Yeah, I guess. I mean, I saw this coming. Anybody with a brain who's played previous pre-patch events saw this coming. But the one thing that you can't really complain about is that leveling is slow, because it's not. This is the fastest pre-patch leveling that we've had in a really long time. Especially the final 10 levels is basically completely skippable. We have a flat 20% bonus that applies to everything. So all leveling methods benefit. And I tested Devour 10 to 80. Wasn't like a particularly fast run either. And that was while missing the Warband 25% bonus for most of the time, and without the 20% bonus from Winds of Mysterious Fortune. And it's Devourer, which is like one of the worst leveling specs I have ever played. And it took me under 6 hours to go from 10 to 80. If I did that again right now, it would easily be under 5 hours, like not even close. And if I did that on any spec that like isn't Devourer, except maybe like Rogue, because Rogue is also pretty bad, but any spec that is remotely good for leveling, I'm pretty sure you could do like consistently 10 to 80, 3 hours really, 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 really easily. I do not think it would be a problem whatsoever. So compared to previous expansions, I think that's like faster than we've ever had for like just average alt leveling time. Obviously, compared to like Legion Remix, yeah, nothing is gonna beat Legion Remix, but if you missed out on that, yeah, tough shit, I guess. That's what it was there for. But hopefully, if you're like doom and gloom over how long leveling takes right now, this will open your eyes, awaken you to the possibilities of like, yeah, no, it's actually piss easy. Especially 70 to 80, that's the easiest part. Literally 5 minutes I could do this in if I wanted to like pre-send items and really optimize it. But I specifically didn't do that. I literally hit record, started the timer, and just walked through the process to show you that even when I am doing everything as slow as humanly possible, searching my website in the middle of the run, it's still really fast. Under 25 minutes. Like, you really can't ask for better. So, yeah, that's it. Hope some of you found this helpful. Catch you in the next one. Peace.